Of all the stories in Hollywood, there's not another one like Will Smith's. At age 39, he has already had 3 successful careers: Grammy Award-winning rapper, sitcom sensation, and finally one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. With 2 Oscar nominations and almost $4.5 billion in box office to his credit, a movie starring Will Smith is about as close as you can get to having a sure thing, whether it's science fiction, romantic comedy, or a summer blockbuster. There's an ease and enthusiasm about him that transcends race and cultural boundaries, and it's one of the reasons so many people like him. What do you think your appeal is?
I love living. I think that's infectious. It's something that you can't fake. And I think that the camera can feel that I'm happy doing what I do, and it's something that gets inside of me. I've never really viewed myself as particularly talented. I've viewed myself as, slightly above average in talent. And where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. While the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working. You can look at the first 6 episodes of the Fresh Prince, and I was so just hell-bent on not failing that I memorized the entire script. And you can see in certain shots, they tried to cut around it as much as they can, but I am mouthing the other actors' lines.
If you don't believe him, watch this scene with a young Don Cheadle, but keep your eyes on Smith.
She was so ugly that Freddy Krueger used to have nightmares about her.
It took 6 episodes for someone to tell me to stop doing it. So then the next 6 episodes look like, oh, come on, Uncle Phil. I'm serious, man. Stop playing. This was my father's shop.
One summer, his dad tore down a brick wall on the front of his business and told 12-year-old Will and his 9-year-old brother to rebuild it, a job they said was impossible. It took them 1.5 years, but they did it.
And he said, now don't you ever tell me it's something that you can't do. And walked right through that door and went inside. And me and my brother stood here and looked. We said, Daddy, crazy as hell, ain't he?
The wall is still there, and so is the lesson he learned from building it.
I just put my head down and laid the first brick. Time in my life that I didn't think was the best time in my life.
So yeah, our album is called Home Base. We entitled it Home Base because we felt that how important it is that when you're trying to do other things in your life, how important that home base is. To have some place, not necessarily physically that you call home, but some place in your heart that you feel home, some place you feel comfortable.
And the winner is Home Base, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Oh, man. First, I'd like to thank God. Yeah. I want to tell a little story real quick, a quick story. I think it was 4 years ago, and it was back in Philadelphia, and it was after the last American Music Awards. 1988. We won an American Music Award, and we were so excited and hyped. We run home. Then everybody's at the airport to meet us, all the press and everything, and his pictures flashes and all that. We hop in the car, we go back to Jeff's house. His mom is cooking a big meal for us and everything, so we go in Jeff's house, we're excited. We sit down, we look at each other, and we're like, we did it, man. We did it. Jeff's mom comes downstairs with $5 and a list, and she said, Jeffrey, I want you to go to the corner and get me some bread and some baking soda, and see if they got them yams that come in the can. And we were like, Jeff said, but Mom, but she said, but nothing, boy, go get that stuff I asked you to get. And as we was walking up to the corner store, it grounded us, it shows us what's really important.
For me,
I never did anything for money, right? So it was never about money. My experience has been when people do things for money, you make bad choices. Find what you love, and then you'll learn how to make money doing what you love. When I changed careers, I was never changing to something for money. I was changing to something I loved more. Right, and that to me, that's really the only way to keep passion. If you have two choices, and one is playing the piano, and another one is, bowling, and you can make more money bowling, but you love playing the piano more, you got to play the piano. It's like you'll tear yourself apart if you're not doing the thing that you love most in life. And you know what it is right now. Right now, there's something that you love more than everything. Whatever it is that you love crazy has to be the thing that you dedicate your life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh wow! You know, this is a rare opportunity for me. You know, this is I stand on this stage today after a dream that I've dreamed for a long time. We have an African American president, and as a child, my parents always told me you could be whatever you want to be, you could do whatever you want to do, and you know that office, that position, the highest office on the face of the earth, it was something I heard my parents saying it, but I didn't totally believe it. Yet I went out in the world and I carried myself and I held my head high and I stood there and I looked people in their eyes and I talked to people as if I was deserving of everything that this planet has to offer. So I really want to say to children out there and to people who are watching, Confucius said one time, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. So I want to stand here before you, and as I hold this award, I want to give love to my wife, and I want you to keep in your heart, just know that you can. Know that you can.
There's such a concept of loss, right? I connected to the idea in this movie of loss and how we react to loss, right? And we think of things in a straight line: birth, life, death, right? And then okay, you died, it's over. And it's like, that's not really how it works. It's you take those ends and you bend it into a circle. It's birth, life, death, rebirth, right? So you have to be prepared when you lose something, when you go through a divorce, when your mother dies, when you lose your house. You have to understand that nature has it no other way. There is a rebirth. That the death is painful. It doesn't change the pain of the death, but you got to stay awake and stay focused for what's the rebirth that God is about to offer you.
What is the difference between depression and joy, right? And I think it's purpose, right? It's like when you wake up in the morning and your life means something to somebody other than you, that you have a purpose. If you don't go do the things that you're going to do, people's lives will suffer. And I think that kind of purpose, that like to live in service, not to you, but to live in service to humanity, to live in service to your family, to live in service to your church, to your city, to your country, to the world. Living in service is that, I feel like that is the purest form of joy.
There are what I would sort of refer to as spiritual physics, right? So the idea that energy is infectious, right? So I can infect you right now. I can infect you positively, or I can infect you negatively. I can affect how you go home and deal with people and friends and family and all of that. And to me, the spiritual physics of that are flawless, right? So as long as I continue to affect people and infect people positively, there's no version of me not winning at the box office. It's just the spiritual physics don't work that way?
I compartmentalize and I get my priorities straight. If you get your priorities straight, it's really simple. If you're either your family is first or your job is first, and just decide ahead of time, right? So if you decide your family is first, and then you're sitting at the Oscars and your daughter has a fever, and it's 90 seconds before your award, you don't have to make a decision of what you're going to do. You've already made the decision ahead of time, because passion and emotion in the moment is always going to give you the wrong answer. So if you do the math ahead of time, it's not an issue in the moment.
You are who you associate with. Look around at your 5 closest friends, and that's who you are. If you don't want to be that person, you know what you got to do.
Last question. Years ago, Marlon Brando had said in an interview to The New Yorker that too much success can ruin you as surely as too much failure.
Yeah.
As one of the most successful people on the planet, do you see any truth in that?
Well, I mean, anytime you inject extremes into the universe, you can expect extremes to come back. I think that one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was don't let your successes go to your head, and don't let your failures go to your heart.
Do you follow that?
I try. No, it's absolutely a difficult, even more so now with my wife and my children expanding into it, the scope of it is actually becoming more difficult to manage. The things that, almost in a spiritual sense, the things that you attract to yourself. And also, if you think about it in terms of altitude, the higher you go, the harder it is to breathe. There's less oxygen. And I think in that phrase, what I get from that with Marlon Brando, what happens is, if you think about it in terms of mountain climbing, the higher and the higher you get, the less oxygen there is, the harder it is to breathe as you get to this successful space. And the first thing people want to do is get down. And what you do by getting down is self-destruct. And I'm just working hard to make sure that I don't allow the lack of oxygen to dull my appreciation for the gifts I've been given.
Her name was Marley.
It's a beautiful name.
Yeah, we named her after Bob Marley.
Who?
The singer.
Damien?
His father. His father.
No.
I shot the sheriff. But I didn't shot the deputy. Oh, that is unacceptable. Best album ever made. You don't recognize that? Wow. He had this idea. It was kind of a virologist's idea. He believed that you could cure racism and hate, literally cure it, by injecting music and love into people's lives. One day he was scheduled to perform at a peace rally. A gunman came to his house and shot him down. 2 days later, he walked out on that stage and sang. Somebody asked him why. He said, the people who are trying to make this world worse are not taking a day off. How can I light up the darkness?
think that there's a certain delusional quality that all successful people have to have. You have to believe that something different than what has happened for the last 50 million years of history. You have to believe that something different can happen.
It's almost a kind of innocence.
Absolutely.
In other words, if you knew how difficult it was,
right,
you would have never gone down that path.
Absolutely.
You know, if somebody had said to Ali, no one can beat this guy. He's this much stronger, he's this much bigger, he's got that much bigger punch than you do, and he believed that, he would have said, you got to have an innocence that somehow.
Absolutely. And I think that's a huge part of me, because, and I say it to my friends all the time, and we laugh about it. I truly, honestly, as I sit here before you right now, as honestly as I can say it to you, I truly believe that I could be the president if I wanted to. And as bizarre as that may sound to people that have traveled the path before me and to people who actually know how difficult it is, foolish Will Smith honestly believes it's sitting here.
Well, what there is about that is a sense of the innocence about it, as well as a disarming honesty about it. You say it that way. And here's what's interesting about you, is that there are people who have said that about you too, who've been around you as a creative performer. Barry Sonnenfeld, I think it was, you know, did you work with him or he was involved in something? Said something like that if Will Smith decided he wanted to go into politics, I'd be there to help him by making commercials, whatever I could do within my own career. Which raises the interesting question, is that something that at some point in your life you might think about politics?
Well, you know, I absolutely feel that there are certain gifts and certain talents that God has blessed me with, that it would be spiritually criminal to only use to make money. My travels in Africa and spending time with Muhammad Ali and spending time with Nelson Mandela, there are certainly issues that are important to me and things that I've been blessed with the vehicle to be able to change, to be able to, as sappy as it may sound, make the world a better place, however minute the change. And that's something that is important to me, but I don't believe that politics is the best use
of your energy and time right
absolutely.
now. Yeah. But the interesting thing too is that there is this concept, and you see it with lots of different people, even with people who are evil. Some will say, he had so much talent. If that talent had been redirected to something good. It is the idea, if you are given and you work hard, because there's nothing more apparent about Will Smith than how diligent and hard he works at being who you are. I mean, you appreciate the notion, it looks like to me from what I know about you, of understanding that you have to be prepared in order to maximize the possibilities of gifts. Right?
Absolutely. And I believe, and I learned very young
from parents.
From my parents, absolutely, that you don't try to build a wall. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, greatest wall that's ever been built. You don't start there. You say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. There will not be one brick on the face of the earth that's going to be laid better than this brick that I'm going to lay in this next 10 minutes. And you do that every single day.
And soon you have a
and
wall.
soon you have a wall. And I think psychologically, the advantage that gives me over a lot of people that I have been in competition with in different situations is it's difficult to take the first step when you look how big the task is. The task is never huge to me. It's always one brick.
Me too. I mean, it is amazing how people are paralyzed from doing anything.
Absolutely.
Because they can't take the first step. Whereas you just say, look, all I'm doing is laying this one brick. I am not building the Great Wall of China here.
Absolutely.
I'm putting a brick here, and I'm going to have the best brick I can. Your father, I think had you and your brother work on a wall of some kind?
Yeah. We're talking about our figurative wall. That comes from work on a literal wall.
Yeah, right.
My father owned. It actually was an old bakery. When I was growing up, my father was an electrician and a refrigeration man. We would install supermarkets. You see the long freezer cases in supermarkets. We would install those long freezer cases and all the lights. That's what we would do every summer.
Yeah.
So this one year, my father had his shop, and he decided for whatever reason that he wanted a new wall on the front of his shop. So he tore down probably about 16 feet high and probably about 30 feet long. He just completely tore the wall down, and my brother and I had to dig a 6-foot hole.
For the foundation.
For the foundation. We would mix in the concrete by hand. A year and a half. We were building this wall for a year and a half. Every day after school, we would come and mix in concrete, put it in the hole, doing it, and it was just myself and my little brother. And I remember standing back, looking at that wall, saying, there's going to be a hole here forever. There will never be anything but a hole here. And a year and a half later,
that many days.
I know. A year and a half later, we laid the final brick. And my father stood back with my brother and I know he planned this. He says he didn't, but I know he had been planning this and writing this for his for the past 2 years. But we stood back, we looked at the wall, and he looked at me and my brother and said, "Now don't y'all never tell me that you can't do something." And walked into the shop.
That's great.
I was like,
now here's what's interesting. You said what? You said
I said, that man's crazy. Something wrong with him, Harold. We need to get out of here.
Exactly. What is he doing to my head?
Man, did he start drinking? Is he drinking?
But what's great about that story and what's great about your dad is that you seem to have come from a happy family.
Absolutely. Well, fairly.
Reasonably.
Reasonably. Yeah.
He's a little crazy. His thing about walls.
Yeah, he's a little.
Yeah.
No, it was,
but generally, there was no great. You didn't have the kind of conflict that Ali had.
Oh, definitely not like Ali.
That kind of, and yet you have the amazing amount of drive. I mean, there's a sense of mission with you, sense of commitment, sense of prepared to do what it requires. Right?
Absolutely. I mean,
so you didn't come from a struggling artist background to become.
Well, you know what?
An accomplished professional.
I think both of my parents and my grandparents were achievers. You know, my mother worked for the school board of Philadelphia, so growing up we couldn't say y'all. You know, it's like if we run out.
My kids do not say y'all.
Yeah, right. You know, we would run out of the house and scream to our friends, "Yo, what y'all about to do?" My mother's up. That's it. Back in this house. Back in this house, and we'd be sitting upstairs crying, and my grandmother would come in and say, "Baby, you know a y'all is a boat." Like, but
there's a difference.
There's absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, there were very specific rules, and there was a constant desire to be better.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. You know, we grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter because
we were becoming
right. Something greater. Yeah. And I always remember that my mother or father or grandmother would say, "That's great, baby. You did a really good job with that. That's incredible. Congratulations. Try this next time."
Yeah.
You know, there was always a little bit
stretching.
More. Absolutely.
When you started out as a rapper, were you already thinking, if I get to do this really well, I'll have a television show. And if I have a television show, I can be in feature films. And if I'm in feature films, I can be.
It was, for me, it was always my biggest dream coming up was I wanted to hear one of my records on the radio.
That was it?
That was it. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to hear one of my records on the radio. Right. And I wanted to see someone hear my record on the radio. And in June 1986, I saw a guy ride past my father's shop, dropping his head, you know. So from that point, I've really been beyond my dreams. And even with the first Grammy nomination, we were beyond anything. When we recorded, we didn't say, "Wow, it would be cool to be."
We just want to hear it on the radio.
We just want to hear it on the radio, you know.
Yeah.
And from that point, I've been